The Daltons' Stash is the 47th adventure of Lucky Luke, published in 1980. It was the first comic in the series since the 10th volume not to be written by René Goscinny, who had died of a heart attack in 1977 at the age of 51. While Lucky Luke's creator, Morris, continued to draw the cartoon panels himself, Le Magot de Dalton was co-written by Anthony Raymond, whose pseudonym was Vic. The Dalton's Stash was the last of the 26 Lucky Luke adventures chosen to be adapted for television by Hanna-Barbera Studios in 1983. Anyway, how faithful was this adaptation? Let's spot the differences.
I'm dangerous! I'm violent! I'm nasty!
I'm Averill!
Lucky Luke is escorting a prison wagon to a penitentiary. The felons inside are not named until the box is opened, revealing 4 holes have been cut. In the adaptation, we see the Dalton brothers escaping by sawing holes using a file. Rantanplan, aka Bushwhack, appearing in this episode is not surprising given he was added to practically every episode of the series. But surprisingly, the dumb dog does not appear in the actual comic, making it the first Lucky Luke adventure featuring the Daltons not to feature Rantanplan, aka Rin Tin Can, since their 3rd appearance.
I would have gone with them, but no one cut a hole for me.
The Daltons find they have escaped too late as they are already inside the penitentiary, making Joe's trademark anger at Averill seem for once totally unjustifiable, as it's not his fault Joe, the leader of the gang, stupidly made his brothers cut 4 separate holes rather than one big hole. As the Daltons did manage to escape on the way to the prison in the comic, they are picked up by a flatter wagon returning to the prison from delivering soup to a work gang.
We made it in plenty of time! Nope, you boys are gonna be doing plenty of time.
The warden demonstrates to the Daltons his method to psychologically discourage his prisoners from wanting to escape. An enormous guard viciously beats up a little guard. This was changed in the episode to the prison having a beefy Japanese guard who is enormously strong. Thus the warning to the Daltons is cause trouble and you risk being karate chopped, rather than if you try to escape you will be forced to watch one guard beat up another guard. Either way, this plot point is completely pointless, as not only doesn't it factor into the rest of the story, but it does not discourage the Daltons from escaping.
We could crack safes with our bare hands!
You could use your rock head!
The Daltons are sharing a cell with Fenimore Buttercup, a convict convicted of forging money, who was caught when he tried to counterfeit a $3 bill. Unable to sleep due to the Daltons' snoring, Buttercup pretends to be talking in his sleep and tells the brother bandits he's hidden $10,000 in real money next to the Red Rock that the town Red Rock Junction is named after. The adaptation increased the amount to $100,000, and in the comic this scene begins with Averill complaining about Buttercup's snoring.
Here, you got it?
Nope.
The Daltons escape by hiding in the bean and pork stew the food wagon is transporting out to the unseen prison work gang. This was changed to the brothers hiding in an uncovered wagon full of prison uniforms, driven by a man cosplaying as Lucky Luke from the neck down. Discovering the Daltons are gone, the warden fires the alarm cannon, which is where the Daltons have hidden their ball and chains, after somehow removing them. In the adaptation, Buttercup gave them the key to their chains, and Bushwhack is what is accidentally fired from the cannon.
Time to get us some horses. And some guns. And some bullets.
And some food!
The longest sequence changed from page to screen of the Daltons' Stash is an 8-page sequence where the Daltons arrive in the town of New Orleans. First, Joe robs a bank, where the teller/manager happily gives him all the money in his safe. William and Jack suggest, for fun, they go to the general store to buy a change of clothes, rather than stealing them for a change. But the notes they were given are all fake, hence why the banker was so eager to get rid of them. They then steal 4 horses after Avril first brings his brothers horses that were harnessed to a hearse. In the episode, Jo tries to steal a wagon from a woman, but she is unintimidated and beats him with her umbrella. This does happen in the original story when Jo tries to push past her at the bank. Avril gets the brothers' transportation by asking some men for their wagon. Unlike the shopkeeper and stable owner, the men recognize the Daltons and flee in fear. Meanwhile, Lucky Luke deduces he is on the right trail when Bushwhack retrieves a yellow button from the river.
The Daltons have been in this water.
Sweet! And I've been drinking it. Yeah!
Arriving in Red Rock Junction, the Daltons ask a local hick to show them the big red rock. He leads them across his 24 acres of land, whereupon it is revealed the rock is inside a penitentiary. A mistake in the English dub has Buttercup and the Daltons referring to the Red Rock as a red hill, even though when they dig their way into the penitentiary, the hill they find is a rock.
At the base of a red hill. I find that big red hill Buttercup told us about. Yeah.
Looking for a big red hill, strangers?
Look, Joe, the red hill where Buttercup buried his loot.
However, this might have been intentional, as after searching in vain for a red hill in the adaptation, the brothers rest next to a large, reddish-brown rock. Also, the farmer doesn't need to lead them across his fields of oats and apples, because the prison can be seen from where the Daltons were.
We ain't gonna break in. We're gonna get thrown in for breaking the law.
Yeah, we're good at that, Joe.
Lucky Luke successfully tracks the Daltons because William and Jack accidentally said their destination out loud in front of the general store owner of New Orleans. This made our hero's job a lot easier than trying to trail them to an unknown destination. In Red Rock Junction, Luke deals with Rusty, who is gleefully firing his gun in all directions. This crazed and very dangerous behaviour was changed from Rufus using the saloon barman for target practice.
Being a naughty boy again, Rusty. Let me arrest him, Judge Poindexter. Justice wants to teach him a lesson. No, he promises to be good. Don't you, Rusty, you little rascal.
To get themselves thrown in the prison, Joe kicks Judge Poindexter. In the episode, all 4 Daltons attack the judge, but because he is suspiciously lenient, the only punishment he inflicts on the town's criminals is a pat on the cheek.
Your valuable cargo arriving on morning train. Stop. That's good news.
Judge Poindexter is annoyed by this news in the comic, because, as the telegram states, his packages don't usually come by train. When Lucky Luke reads the discarded telegram, he correctly suspects the Daltons might rob the train, but in the comic he finds this out by following them. William Dalton pours oil on the rails, causing the train to derail. The brothers' method of attacking the train in the adaptation was changed to them cutting down a tree, causing injury to themselves rather than innocent passengers. The judge who witnessed the Daltons' actions doesn't arrest them, but does arrest 2 other outlaws who were on the train, the McBride brothers, changed from father and son in the comic.
Don't be silly, you little rascal.
The nerve of that judge.
Yeah, and he didn't pat me on the cheek.
Numbskull!
Before Judge Poindexter takes them away, the humongous McBrides pay back the Daltons for causing them minor injury by bashing the quartet's heads together. Avril remains unconscious until Joe tells him dinner is ready. This 2-page sequence was not added to the adaptation, though Joe does injure himself by kicking the train in anger.
This is a first, Joe.
Yeah, digging get into prison instead of out.
Yep, it's a whole new method. Instead of e-skate, I call it in-skate.
In the comic, only Avril digs the tunnel to the prison. Luke follows the Daltons, and while they are busy digging for a non-existent fortune, our hero discovers the penitentiary is just a ruse, and that Judge Poindexter is using it to house outlaws, giving the men with prices on their heads a place to relax, and, more importantly to Poindexter, give him a share of their ill-gotten money. He offers Luke a job, but the cowboy declines the offer. The crooked judge sentences Luke to be hanged, but not until the next morning, allowing ample time for the sheriff of Red Rock Junction to send for the cavalry, as Luke instructed him to do. This is followed by a shootout between the fake prison guards and their Gatling guns versus one cowboy and his six-shooter. The finale of the adaptation is much less dramatic. Instead of taking Luke inside the saloon at gunpoint and offering him a security guard position, the judge and two bandits take Luke over to the Red Rock to shoot him, without questioning the presence of several holes in the ground. Luckily for Luke, he is saved by stupidity, as Avril Dalton accidentally hits the judge with his spade, and Bushwhack retrieves Luke's gun, thinking he was playing fetch. Luke then locks up all the criminals single-handed, without even the help of the sheriff.
You little rascal.
The Daltons are caught, though strangely in the comic they are not actually shown being caught, or reacting to the presence of Lucky Luke. Furthermore, it is even stranger that the villains have zero interactions with their nemesis throughout the whole story. Joe never even curses the cowboy's name.
It's Lucky Luke.
Lucky Luke!
Lucky Luke! Lucky Luke!
Perhaps Morris ran out of pages, hence why Jolly Jumper comments upon the fact his rider only had 9 pages left to wrap up the adventure. It is therefore said, not shown to us, that Red Rock Junction's fake prison is now a real prison, with the judge, his customers, and the Daltons locked up inside it. The comic ends with the Daltons back in prison uniforms, wearing caps that Morris only drew on their heads in 2 other Lucky Luke comics, The Dalton's Cure and The Dalton's Amnesia. Joe is digging a tunnel so they can break into the penitentiary they escaped from, and beat up Buttercup for lying to them about a buried fortune. In the adaptation, although the sheriff does offer the Daltons a cell in Red Rock Junction's jail, Luke insists they return to the cell they escaped from, and the only revenge the brothers take on Buttercup is continuing to snore.
Where do you think you're going, Bushwhack? You stay. You're a prison guard dog.
Oh, I always wondered what I did.
I'm a poor lonesome cowboy